Hi, Nerd Mom here. Today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Kubo and the Two Strings. This is the first movie that we took both of my boys to. I have a 6-year-old who's almost getting close to 7, and I have a 3-year-old. My 6-year-old was able to go see movies when he was 18 months old. The first movie we took him to was Winnie the Pooh, but it was certainly not the last. He's always been really good at sitting through things because he's just sort of entranced and gets into the zone when he sees a screen. My 3-year-old, not so much. She's one of those kids that will watch a show for a little while, get up, walk out, come back in later. He's not as fixated on whatever he's watching, and it doesn't hold his attention as much. So we waited, and to be perfectly honest, the reason that we took him to this movie is because we really wanted to go see it, and we couldn't get babysitting for a while. So we thought, let's give it a try, and if it doesn't work out, we'll take him out, and we'll try again later. So to the review portion, let's first just say that this movie is about sad things. If your kid can't really handle sad movies, this is maybe not the one to take them to. It's definitely about death, and it's definitely about losing people that you love and having to deal with that. Personally, I think it's a good thing to discuss with children. We had to do that early on with my 6-year-old because I actually had a daughter who we lost when he was younger. So we've had a lot of talks about death and, what happens when you die, where you go, and, what that means, and all those sorts of things. So he's really had to deal with it from an early age. I know a lot of kids have not, but I think just having those discussions all the time, just here and there, is a really good way to educate your child so they're not like really surprised about it later in life. So you may consider this movie kind of a good introduction. You want to prep your kid ahead of time a little bit about those issues. Yeah, it's definitely sad. But my 6-year-old, he really liked it in spite of the fact that it was sad. He was transfixed by the entire thing, and at the end, he wasn't like, yay, yay, but he was like, yes, I really, really liked that movie, and I think it was a good way to validate his feelings of, occasional fear that all children have about their parents going away and what will happen, because it is about Kubo's parents and what happens to them, and in that sense, you do see that the character comes out all right in the end, even though these bad things happen to him. There's no magical, happy ending, everything's all right, whatever. He does have to deal with the reality of these things. And in the end, he's okay. He learns how to go on with his life. So you could discuss that with your child. For my 3-year-old, not so much. I don't know that he got that much out of the actual story. I didn't learn anything about the movie going into it, so I didn't realize that it was going to be as intense as it was. So let's talk about that. The second thing, it's sad. It's also very intense. It goes from sort of this calm, serene setting, even though it's a little bit sad and melancholy at the beginning, and then the introduction of the bad guys is just like boom, it happens instantly, and something happens to his mom just like all of a sudden, and it was extremely effective. It was very good movie making, very good storytelling. It was just too much for my 3-year-old to handle. When that happened, it didn't help that he's currently going through a can't be separated from mommy phase. So when that happened and Kubo's mother was taken away from him, he literally, he was okay up until that point, and then he was just started sobbing and was clinging to me, and I had to get up and run out of the theater with him because I don't want to spoil it for everybody else. That said, we were outside for about maybe 30 seconds total, and he got back up and was like, I need to go back in. And I was like, are you sure, buddy? I think maybe we should just go home and we'll watch this some other time. And he was like, no, I need to go back in. And I was like, okay. So I took him back in, and I sat at the back of the theater right by the door, and I just sort of held him. and he was good for a while after that. And then he eventually said that he wanted to go sit with Daddy and his brother again. So I was like, okay. He did start crying again at the climax in the end. I think just because it was a scary monster. There's several scary monsters in here, and it was intense once again. Just I think even though he didn't really understand the emotional impact of it, he felt it. He knew something very emotional was going on, and that kind of scared him. But so he started crying again, and I just sort of like whispered to him, "Don't worry, Kubo knows what he's doing, and he's going to be okay." And it was just a little bit of a cry, and he was okay. Both Daddy and me feel like we might have traumatized him slightly, so we feel bad about that, and we probably should have looked into the movie a little bit more before we went. So let that be a warning to you. Um, anyway, yeah, overall, I think it is a fantastic film. I would say definitely for a little bit older children, don't take your little guys. And if you have a sensitive kid, an overly sensitive kid, this is maybe one that you want to watch on video rather than in the theaters. But I definitely would say this is top quality film. I mean, it is just, the visuals are fantastic. The cultural stuff is just on point. Like, it was a little bit weird because the voice actors are all white people, and the movie is like extremely Japanese, but it kind of works because it feels like a dub. Like, it feels like this is a Japanese movie which has been dubbed in English by like white people, right? And they even like translated the characters correctly. Like, there's a samurai character who's voiced by Matthew McConaughey, so he has this like cowboy twang, and at first it was like, oh, this is weird, like a samurai wouldn't sound like that. But then you realize, wait a second, this works because like cowboys are essentially the Western samurai, right? They're sort of transposed, and those stories are retold in different ways across our cultures. So that really worked. Like, having this cowboy voice for the samurai is like, oh, that makes it familiar to the Western audience who may not be familiar with Japanese stuff. I don't think it necessarily excuses the lack of like Asian voices in the main characters, but I noticed that all of the minor characters and a lot of like tons of people who were involved in the making of the movie were definitely like had Asian names and stuff. So I don't know, that kind of redeemed it for me. Yeah, even the like the mythology and everything, like whoever wrote this, like, I mean, they did their homework, and it's really, really well done. So definite double thumbs up from me, from Daddy, from the 6-year-old, not so much from the 3-year-old who said, no, he never wants to see that movie again. So we'll try him when he gets a little bit older. Anyway, that's been my review of Kubo and the Two Strings. Please go see it.